Good morning. Today's Chumash is Chumash, starting now Parshas Vayera, Rishon. The Torah begins. Vayera ilav Hashem, and Hashem appeared to Avram, where Be'eleni Mamre, in the plains of Mamre, V'hu. And Avram Avinu was Yeshev Pesach Ha'el K'chem Hayem. He was sitting at the entrance of the tent when the day was hot. So Rashi, Vayera ilav, why did Hashem appear to him? Levaker Sachela, to visit the sick. Amar Rav Chama bar Chanina. Rav Chama bar Chanina says, Yom Shlishi L'Misa Haya. This was the third day from Avram Avinu's circumcision. Destined to stand in the congregation of the judges. Shenemar, like it says, Elikim Nitzav Badas Kel. Hashem stands in the divine assembly. Pesach Ha'il, at the entrance of the tent. Why? Lirois Yimish Over V'Shav V'Yachnisim B'Beisai, to see whether there was a passerby who he would bring into his house. Rashi says, K'choim Mayim, when the day was hot. Rashi says, Hoysi HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chama Min Artika. That day, Hashem took out the sun out of its shield, not to trouble him with guests. But since he saw that Avram Avinu was troubled, that guests were not coming, so he brought angels to him in the likeness of men. So just a few points in the psukim. Rashi says, Vayera Lav Hashem. Why did he appear to him? Rashi says, either Levaker Sachela, according to Rashi. Other Mefarshim want to learn the Rabbeinu Miyuchas, and other Mefarshim want to learn that he came to Avram Avinu to speak to him about that he wants to turn over a stone. The Seforno learns that Hashem came to Avram Avinu that whenever this was part of the Krisis Bris, and whenever you come make a Krisis Bris, you have to stand, so you're standing next to him. Now, what does it mean, K'choim Hayem? So Rashi says either that Hashem took out the Chamim in Artika, and other Mefarshim want to say that what the Torah is saying is that it was the fourth hour, which is the time that people usually eat, and that's why Avram Avinu was standing and trying to look for guests. Okay, Pasuk Beis. Vayisa Eina Vayar, and he lifted his eyes and he saw. V'hinei shleish anashim, behold, there were three men. Nitzavim alav, standing in front of him. Vayar, and he saw. Vayaris T'krasim Pesach Ha'il, he ran towards them from the entrance of the tent. Vayishtachu arza, and he bowed himself to the ground. So Rashi says, V'hinei shleish anashim. Why three men? Echad levaser Sarah, one to inform Sarah that she's going to have a child. Ve'echad lahafich estem, and one to turn over, to destroy Sodom. Ve'echad lerapis es Avram, and one to heal Avram. Why? Shein malach echad oiser shtei shlichiyos, because the rule is that a malach is now allowed to does not do two missions. Teidelacha, what's the proof for that? Shekin kol parsha hu maskir in blushin rabim. If you look in the entire parsha, it says vayechelu, vayemru elav, and they ate and they said to him. This was in a Roshan Rabbim. It's a plural form. But when it comes to telling over, let's say about the child, what does it say? Shev asher ve'lecha, and I will surely return. Lashon Yachid. And when it comes to concerning turning over stem, what does it say? I will not be able to do anything. Now, Urufol Shripas Avram Halach Misham Lahatzos late, and Rufol, who healed Avram, went from there to save late. As it says, and it came to pass when they took them outside that the angel said, Himolet anafshecha, flee for your life. This teaches us she'echad haya matzil. You learn from here that one acted as a deliverer. Now, what's the reason? Why is it that ein shtei malchi is isa shlichus echad? Because a malach, we call it, who were the malachim here? Rafal, there was malach Rafal, it was malach Gavriel, right? So their name is based on their mission. So Rafal was there to heal Avram. So now that he has to do another mission, he does not have that name to do that mission. That's one answer. Nitzavim alav. Now, what does it mean standing? Literally means standing on them. So Rashi says, doesn't mean alav, rather live fun of. It means in front of him. This is a euphemism in reference to the malachim. Vayar, now it says Vayar twice. If you look in the pasuk, it says Vayisa Einov, and he saw, and then the pasuk says again he saw. Why twice he saw? So Rashi says Ma'u Vayar shtei pa'amim. Why does it say and he saw twice? Harishin kimashmo v'ashen loshen havana. The first time he understood, according to its apparent meaning, and he saw, and the second is loshen havana, that he understood. He saw, he observed that they were standing in one place, and he understood that they did not want to trouble him. And although they knew that he would come towards them, they stood in their place out of respect to him, to show that they do not want to trouble Avram. And what happened? He went out and he ran towards them. And Baba Metzia, it says, it's written, standing beside him. And then it says, and he ran towards them. So which one is it? So the Gemara says over there, to have a shari of aser peshu himenu. When they saw that he was untying and tying his bandages, so they separated from him. Miyad vayaris dekrasam. So immediately he ran towards them. Pasuk Gimel. The pasuk says, "Vayoymar," and he said, "Adonai, my lords, if I found favor in your eyes, please do not pass on from before your servant." Rashi says, "Vayoymar Adonai imno." Now it says, if you look, it doesn't say he said to them. It says lashon yachid vayoymar, and he says lashon yachid. Now, why does it say lashon yachid? So Rashi says, "Agadol shubahem Omar," to the chief one, to the head. In other words, to the head malach, to the gadol, he told them, "Akrasim kulam adenim ulagadol Omar al nas avar." So he called all of them lords, and to the chief one he said, "Please do not pass by." And once he doesn't pass by, so automatically his chaverev will listen. And this over here, Adonai it doesn't mean Hashem, but Adonai is a lashon, like a profane name. It does not refer to Hashem. Now, who was the Gadol Shebekulam? So the Mefarshim say that that usually the way it is that, let's say, a Talmid Chacham walks in the middle and his entourage walks on the side. So he saw the one in the middle, the Malach in the middle, and that's, he obviously realized, otherwise how do you know Gadol Shebekulam? So he saw the way they were walking, the middle one, he gave respect, and he realized that this is the one that he has to speak to. Davar Acher, another explanation is Kadishu. Another explanation is that Adonai is referring to Hashem. He told Hashem to wait until he brings the Orchim. Even though it says afterwards and he ran towards them, this Amira that he told Hashem to wait, that was beforehand. And this is the way the Pesukim talk, as I explained. Now, Pasuk Dalet says, Yukach namat mayim, but let a little water be taken, and bathe your feet, and recline under the tree. Yukach na, please take water. Rashi says, this is through a messenger. Since Avram Avinu did not actually give the water himself, it was through a messenger. So Hashem said, paid through a messenger. Shenemar, like it says, Moshe raised his hands and he hit the rock. And bathe your feet. Why? He thought that they were Arabs who bowed themselves to the dust of their feet. And he was very careful that Avodah Zarah should not come into his house. But Leit, who was not strict, he told the Malachim first to stay and then bathe. Like it says, as it says, and stay and then bathe your feet. Tachas ha'etz, what does it mean under the tree? Tachas ha'ilan, under the tree. Pasuk hey, ve'echa fas lechem, and I will take bread, v'sadu libchem achar ta'averu, and sustain your hearts. Afterwards you shall pass on. Ki al ken avartem al avdechem, because you have passed by your servant. Vayemru, and they said, Kain tasa kasher dibarta, so shall you do as you have spoken. Rashi says, Vasadu libchem. Now it doesn't say sustain your hearts. It doesn't say v'sadu levavchem. What's libchem? So Rashi says, first of all, Rashi says, Batera, you find in Torah, Nevi'im, Ubuksuvim, Matzinu, the Pita Sa'ados de Liba. First of all, you find in Tanakh, you find that bread sustains the heart. Now, Batera, V'sadu Libchem, Batera, what does it say? V'sadu Libchem, Nevi'im, Sa'ad Libcha, Pas Lechem, and also in Nevi'im it says that sustain your heart with bread, Ubuksuvim, V'lav, and you said, and also in Tehillim, what does it say? And bread sustains man's heart. So you see that bread sustains a person. Now, Rab Chama says, Levavchem ein ksivkan ela libchem. Levavchem is not written, but it says libchem. Why doesn't it say Levavchem? Lashon Rabim says libchem. This teaches us that the Yetzer Hara does not rule over angels. Achar taveru, what does that mean? Afterwards you shall pass. Achar chen telechu, afterwards you shall go. Alkein ki alkein avartem. For I request this from you, in other words, to sustain your heart, because you have passed by me, have stopped in my home to honor me. Ki alkein, Rashi says, what does it mean? Because kamei al asher, ki alkein is like asher. Ki kol ki alkein shebamikra, so too every time it says alkein in the Torah. Alkein bo b'tzel kirasi, because they have come into my shadow of my roof. Ki alkein re'isi panecha, because I have seen your heart, your face. Ki alkein lo nesatio, I have not given her. Ki alkein yadaiti chanisenu, because you know our encamping. So we see alkein is like because. Pasuk vav. Vayimar Avram Elel Sarah, and Avram hastened to the tent of Sarah. Vayemer, and he said, Ma'rish loishim kemach selis, be quick. Hasten, bring these 3 seahs of meal of fine flour, lushi vasi ugais, knead and make cakes. So Rashi, kemach selos ugais, the fine flour of cakes. Kemach la'amilon shel tabachim, this is the meal for the starch used by the cooks. Lachases etzakdeira lisha v'sazuma, to cover the pot, to draw out the sweat over there. Pasuk zayin ve'labokar rotz Avram, and to the cattle that Avram run. Vayikach ben boker rach v'tevitin el hanar, and he took a calf, a tender and good, and he gave it to the youth. And he hastened to prepare it. So Rashi ben Boker Rachutev, Gimel Param Hayu. There were 3 calves. Why? He wanted to give them tongues, so he needed 3 cows to give 3 tongues with mustard. Elanar, to the youth, Zeh Yishmo, this refers to the Shmo. Chanche b'mitzvahs, in order to train him to perform mitzvahs. Ches vayikach chema v'chalav, and he took cream and milk. Uben abakar asher asa, and the calf that he prepared. Vayitin lefneim, and he placed them before them. V'oemed aleim tachas ha'etz v'echelu, and he was standing over them under the tree, and they ate. So Rashi vayikach chema v'lechem lehevi. What happened to the bread? V'shepirsa Sarah nida, since Sarah started her nida cycle, shechazal ha'erech kanashim eisayim, as there was a miracle for that manner of the woman returned to her on that day. So v'nitmisa isa, so the dough became tummy. Chema, what's chema? Shuman hachalav shekotum alpanav. This is the fat of the milk that skimmed on the top of ben abok asher asa. So Rashi says asher tikin, that he had prepared. Kama asher tikin amti v'aisi kamayu. Each one that he prepared, he took and brought before them. They prepared as they were eating. However, they did not eat. This teaches us that a person should not deviate from the custom of his house, of the house that he's by. And they said to him, where's Sarah, your wife? And he said, she is in the tent. Rashi says, now, Nakud al Aleph Yud Vav. If you look in the Torah, there are dots on the letters of Aleph Yud Vav, Aye. Now, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, wherever the undotted letters are more than the dotted letters, you have to expound the undotted letters. However, here, there's more letters that have dots in it than not. So now, so you have to al haksav at the darshan nakuda, you have to darshan the nakuda, which means she'af l'sara shalu Avram. This means they also asked Avram, Sarah, where is Avram? Madness teaches us This teaches us that a person should ask his lodging place of the husband about his wife, and the wife about the husband. Now, in the Gemara Bava Metzia, it says that the angels knew where Sarah was, but they wanted to show Avram how tzniya she was. in order to endear her to her husband. Rabbi Chanina says, they asked where Sarah is in order to send her the cup of wine that we have by Berchas Hamazon. She was modest. Pasuk Yud, the Pasuk says, Vayemer, and he says, I will surely return to you at the time next year. And behold, your Sarah will have a son. And Sarah heard from the entrance of the tent, and it was behind him. At this time in the coming year, it was according to actually Machlekes in the Gemara, but Rashi learns Chumash it was Pesach, or Pesach Haba, Yitzchak, and the next year Yitzchak was born. Now it doesn't say Ke'es at a time, but it says Ko'es at this time. Ko'es Chaya means at this time when there will be life for you, when you will be alive and well. Shev Ashuv, I will surely return. Rashi says, like Bisru Amalach Shiyashav love. The Malach did not announce that he himself will return to him. He was speaking as a Shliach of Hashem. As it says, and the angel said to her, I will greatly multiply your seed, but Malachim do not have the power to multiply her children. He spoke with the Shlichus of Hashem, when he says he's speaking al Shliach of Hashem. Elisha Omar Lashunamis Lamed Hazek Koes Chaya at Chivekes Bein Vatemer Ladini Isha Likim Al Techaze B'Shivchosecha Oisena Malachim. So we see by the story of Elisha and Shunamis, he said, at this season, at this time, you will be embracing a son. And she said, no, my master, O man of Hashem, do not fail your maidservant. Now, Shibisu Asara Amru Lamed Ashuv. Those angels who announced to Sarah said, at this time, I will return. So Elisha said, those angels who live and are there forever said, at the appointed time, I will return. But I am flesh and blood. I'm here today and tomorrow I'll die. So he said, whether I will be alive or dead, at this time you will embrace the son. Rashi says the entrance was behind him. The entrance was behind the angel. And Avram and Sarah were old. Sarah had ceased to have the way, like the way of the woman. Rashi says, it had ceased from her. The menstrual cycle. And Sarah laughed with herself, saying, after I have been worn out, will I have smooth flesh? And also my master is old. She looked at her inside and said, is it possible that these insides will carry a child? These breasts which have dried up will give forth milk. This is the smoothness of flesh. In the Mishnah, the expression is it causes the hair to fall out and smooth ma'aden, the flesh. Another explanation is the expression of Eden, which means Zman Veses Nidis, the time of the menstrual period. Hashem said to Avram, why did Sarah laugh, saying, is it really true that I will give birth although I am old? Is it really true that I will give birth although I am old? Hashem altered for the sake of peace. And what did she say? She said Avram Avinu is old. Is anything hidden from Hashem? At the appointed time I will return at this time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Is anything too hidden? Is anything hidden and separated and concealed from me from doing my will? At the time that I was appointed, that I have set for you yesterday when I said at this time next year. Okay. Let me post the sikha.